So I'm starting this, finally starting this campaign. Originally from, I guess from PlayStation 4, I played the campaign, but I never got to finish it. So what I'm doing in this one, I'm going to start this campaign again from the very beginning because the story is kind of interesting. It's better than most of the previous Tekken stories anyway. Um, I would say Tekken story in Part 5 is pretty damn good. I think Part 5 has the best story, to be honest with you. Part 7, I think that will come in second. It's either Part 3 story, Part 5 story, or Part 7 story. I believe Part 5 story is better than Part 3 story, and Part 7 story is like coming in second. So Part 7 story was pretty good, even though none of the Tekken stories are ever that good to begin with. But I think the animation for um, Part 5, as well as the flow of the story, was better than Part 7. But I think the ending of Part 7 is actually way better than Part 5. So it's an ending to a saga or to a great epic story since Tekken 1. So this is the only reason I would say Part 7 just comes in short, in very short, shortly, very short after Part 5. Because Part 4 was good, but it wasn't that great. And Part 3 was when things really started to change from where Part 1 and 2 was. But the story in Part 3s were like choppy little things. They weren't like full range stories, like they were actually stories. And Part 4 kind of fall into the same category. It was only when Part 5 came out and things started to feel like they were actual stories that were being told. Like beginning of the story of the game to the end of the game, even though they weren't like felt like campaign stories. Even in Part 5, it didn't feel like campaign stories, but it did feel like a story was being told in Part 5. That's why I say Part 5 feels more um, like it was the beginning of the campaign stories for all of Tekken. Um, Part 6 kind of fell into the same category as Part 5. Not that much greatness going there, but it was just fleshed out. It's basically what Part 5 was, but a little bit more of it. Now, Part 7, which is what I'm playing right now, kind of gave you more of what a better version of what Part 5 and what Part 6 did. And this time it made it feel like you were actually playing a campaign. But from some bizarre reason, you're playing the campaign from the side part of a guy who's an investigative reporter, which makes no sense in conjunction towards the story at all. That's why certain people say Part 5 is still good because you don't have to deal with this reporter guy talking about the Mishima family. What has nothing to do with the actual story of the Tekken. It just had to do with his own personal journey with regards to these characters, but he doesn't factor in the overall end of the story, other than a side character that's kind of invisible in the background. So that's the only takeaway from Part 7 that's bad. When it comes to animation, Part 7 is good. When it comes to the conclusion of Part 7 is good, but it's still not better than, I would say, Part 5 or Part 6 overall. That's why Part 5 is still better. And that's why Part 6 comes in slightly above, I would say slightly above Part 4, 3, 2, and 1. And it falls into, I would say it might just be a little bit better than Part 7. But then again, Part 7 had that great ending and a great middle leading up to that ending. So that's the only reason I would say Part 7 is better than 6. If it wasn't for that damn reporter, Part 7 would be far better than Part 6. That's why I still keep Part 7 as a better Tekken story than for the campaign than Part 6 did. So how it goes with regards to Tekken, story and campaign wise, most Tekkens from 1 to 3, there were no campaigns. Campaigns didn't really start to happen until, like, say, Part 5. Part 4 just kind of hinted at it, certain things, but it didn't feel like an actual real campaign until you start to play Part 5. And Part 5 wasn't an actual full blown out campaign either. It felt like choppy pieces of a campaign. But that's when I could fully say that campaigns actually started to become a thing in Part 5. That's why I keep Part 5 as my best Tekken of all times, next to Part 3. Um, Fighting wise, Part 3 will always be the best Tekken of all time. And I will always put Part 3 as the best Tekken game of all time. But story wise, in regards to character development and animation wise, Part 5 will always be better than 3, obviously. But as game wise and fighting wise, Part 3 is the best Tekken game of all times in all of Tekken. And Part 5 coming is just slightly under Part 3. And then part 7 coming slightly under Part 5. But yeah, that's how it goes. Part 3 is the best. Part 5 is the second best part, and Part 7, this one comes in at third. And the only reason why it's below Part 5 is because of the stupid reporter in Part 7. Otherwise, Part 7 would be greater than Part 5. Easy. So I'll get into this right now. I'm not going to play the game on this easy mode. I'm going to play the game on standard, and 3 stars is standard. And I guess when I get towards the end to final boss, the final boss would probably be at this star level, 5-star level. So if I was to put this on 5-star level already, final boss would probably have additional 2 more stars or 3 more stars. So I'm not trying to win any goal or trying to be the best Tekken fighter. I'm just trying to tell the story here with regards to the game. Obviously, I'm not great as I'm not great at playing fighting games, but fighting games are a staple in my actually gaming career, and I consider it like a gaming career because, well, not really a career, and I wouldn't call it a hobby either because a hobby is something that you do every now and again, not frequently. So gaming is something I do frequently, at least once a day, or at least once every other day. And that's not really a hobby when you're doing something once every other day. A hobby is something you do every now and again, not something you do like every day. That's not a hobby. So yeah, I'm playing this from the beginning. This damn reporter, man, I gotta say, there was no point in him being in this story
I
because
remember receiving my first letter from my
and hearing
son a
his
few
stupid
years
talking.
back.
I mean, I understand
Scribbled
what
on it
happens in
were the
his life,
words,
but
I love you. I
well,
was
it's not
so
like he's
happy
going
I
to have his
cried.
revenge to start show up and fight people.
At the
This character
time,
has no
I
point in the
believed that
story, no
love was
relevance.
all anyone needed.
If this character wasn't in the game, 7 would have
For
been
some years
the
now,
best
I've
Tekken
been
game.
investigating a certain father and son, and I managed to get a hold of the first letter the boy wrote to his father. It said, Father, one day, I will tear you to pieces.
As leader of the Mishima Zaibatsu, Jin Kazama plunged the world into war. He sent the human race to hell, all so he could save it. Fear and hatred enveloped the globe, filling it with despair. Just as Jin predicted, Earth's despair awoke Azazel, an ancient beast sealed deep underground because of its threat to humanity. Jin defeated Azazel in battle and saved the planet. But could the world really be considered saved? The war that Jin began has now evolved into a battle between the Mishima Zaibatsu and G Corporation. One which has kept the wheels of turmoil spinning day after day. It's winner take all, and the prize is world domination. Jin, the one who started everything, has gone missing in the Middle East. His whereabouts remain unknown, but his disappearance has tipped the scales in G-Corp's favor.
Eddy や E2031 にて救難信号を受信。国連軍のヘリからと思われます。
我々が数日前まで当初を捜索していたエリアの近くです。
Increase surveillance. If a UN soldier so much as sneezes, I want to know.
了解。近隣の町もチェックさせます。
久しぶりよのこの場所に立つ。陣を失った財閥が混乱する様子が手に取るようにわかるわい。
If there were demons in this world, what form would they take? The answer to that question still eludes me. That day, I was reporting from a battlefield, gathering news about the war to bring to the world. When I headed back to the barracks, a message was waiting for me. I was dumbstruck. How could my hometown have come under attack? When I returned, nothing was as I remembered. The roads used to be quiet, hardly a car in sight. But now tanks and armored vehicles line the streets like an iron wall. Though it was noon, a thick fog of ash enveloped the sky in darkness. The blackened trees, the burning ground, the pungent, burnt air. The place I once called home was now just an ashen field. And streets echoed with the memories of playing children and delivery trucks. Everyone I loved had been lost to the past. That day, my old life ended, and a new one began. In my loneliness and despair, a hatred grew inside me.
「遺跡周辺はすべて捜索しましたが、生体反応はなし。やはり当主はもう。
G 社の攻撃も激化しております。
当主が不在の今、いち早く体制を整えねば。
Who's there? What are you doing? Catch him, quick!
Here!
What a pain in the neck.
Hmm. これだけか。わしの出迎えにしては少々物足りんの。当たりやせんわ。
Fight.これですっきりしょい。次。いいなか。
What do you want now, Heihachi Mishima?
知れたこと。財閥を取り戻しに来たに決まっておろう。